In this video, you will learn how to create a podcast using NotebookLM. The video and music was created with Canva. Links in the description. Now let me hand over to our hosts.
Ever find yourself drowning in notes like those mountains of notebooks we all had back in school?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Trying to cram it all in before a test. Pages and pages of almost gibberish, right?
Well, get ready for note-taking to get a serious upgrade, because Google's NotebookLM is here. And it might just turn those notes into a whole podcast.
Yeah, it's definitely got everyone talking. I think what's got me most interested is it's not just about the note-taking part itself. It's what you do with it all after that's really interesting.
Right. It's like, imagine you're digging into some new topic. You've got articles everywhere, research papers, even slideshows. NotebookLM lets you pull it all together.
Up to 50 sources, they say.
Into one digital notebook.
And we're not talking about like a couple pages each. Each source can be huge, 500,000 words.
Wow, that's a serious amount of info.
It's like condensing a whole encyclopedia down on one topic.
Okay, so you've got this massive collection of knowledge, but here's where it gets really wild. You can actually tell NotebookLM to go and make a whole podcast from all that research.
It's true. And we're not talking about just spitting back the info either. It actually goes through your notes, figures out the main themes, the arguments, the important stuff, and then puts it all together into a structured discussion.
So it's basically doing all the hard work for you. The stuff that would usually take, like, hours of work, just pulling out the key takeaways and actually turning it into a podcast. When you first heard about this feature, what went through your head? I don't know about you, but it kind of feels like we're living in the future with this.
It's definitely next level stuff.
And what blows my mind is how easy they've made it to actually use. You literally just hit a button that says, generate podcasts.
That's all it takes. You get your notes in order, feed it the sources, wait a few minutes for it to work its magic. And there you have it, a fully structured audio discussion ready to go.
So instead of being hunched over a script or wrestling with editing software, you've got NotebookLM doing all the heavy lifting in the background, pulling out the heart of your research. It's like having an invisible podcast producer working behind the scenes.
I like that. It really is. And when you think about it that way, it opens up a ton of possibilities. I mean, imagine educators using this. Teachers could whip up extra material for students, make those really complex topics way more engaging.
Like a personal audio companion to go along with their notes. And it's funny you mention accessibility, because that's something that really jumped out at me in that article we were talking about earlier. They were saying NotebookLM could be huge for people who learn differently, people who struggle with traditional text-heavy stuff.
Right. Having information presented in a way that just clicks for you, that's powerful stuff. And it's not just about making information easier to understand either. It's also about who gets to be the one creating it.
Oh, that's a good point. Because suddenly, with a tool like this, anybody with a good idea and access to some research could potentially create a podcast.
Exactly. Students sharing their work, marketers making these really cool, dynamic audio reports. Even scientists could get in on it, making their research more accessible to a wider audience. I mean, it's got that real potential to, like, democratize content creation. That's something we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, and even for those of us who have been podcasting for a while, like us, it could be a super useful tool. Just imagine using it to put together a first draft of an episode, or to help get our initial research, organized into a solid narrative.
Totally. Think of all the time and energy it would save. It could free us up to really focus on the storytelling aspect,
Yeah.
That human touch is what makes podcasts so engaging. And this would give us more space for that.
Yeah.
Of course, got to remember, this is still early days for this tech. It's just the first version. So who knows what they'll come up with next, right?
It's wild to think about where this could all go. What are some ways you could see the podcast feature evolving in the future?
Oh, man. The possibilities are pretty much endless when you really start to think about it. Like, what if you could actually customize the tone of the podcast it spits out?
Oh, interesting.
Do you want it to sound like we do? Casual, conversational, or maybe you need something more formal, like a lecture.
Right.
Or even something completely off the wall. Like, imagine a humorous podcast generated from your research notes.
Oh, that's funny. Like different podcast personalities you could choose from.
Exactly.
I'd personally request, like, a David Attenborough voice for all my nature documentary deep dives.
There you go. See?
Yeah.
And it's not just about the voices either. Think about integration with other tools. What if it could sync up with your calendar? Like, you finish a meeting and boom, it automatically generates a podcast summarizing everything you just talked about.
Okay, now that would be a game changer. No more struggling to decipher my own handwriting from those meetings. But it does make you wonder about the bigger picture too, right? Like, if AI can generate a whole podcast now, what does that mean for the humans who actually make them?
It's definitely a question a lot of people are asking. But honestly, I think the way we have to look at it is technology like NotebookLM, it's a tool. Just like, way back when, the printing press didn't kill storytelling.
Right, it just changed how those stories were shared.
Exactly. And I think we're seeing the same thing here. It's not about replacing us. It's about giving us new tools to work with,
Huh?
to boost our creativity.
And reach people in new ways.
Exactly. But like any tool, it comes down to us using it responsibly, ethically, remembering what makes us human. Our creativity, empathy, that human connection we get when we share stories.
It's been an amazing deep dive today. NotebookLM is definitely pushing the limits of what we thought was possible with AI. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all unfolds from here, how this tech changes the way we learn, the way we create, the way we share information with each other.
For sure. And who knows what incredible discoveries are waiting for us as we continue to unlock the power of AI.
And to everyone listening, we want to hear from you. What possibilities has this sparked for you? Could you see NotebookLM changing how you work, how you learn, maybe even how you tell your own stories?